Hey, it's Markka here. I'm going to take you through a little hip mobility stretching session today. It's going to take roughly about 10 minutes, but if you feel like one of these stretches feels awesome and you feel the benefit from it, please be free to keep doing it more than this 10-minute video. I have 3 movements. The first one is just a general hip flexor, hamstring, leg area opener. Okay, so I'm going to go into a deep lunge. I'm going to pop the timer on so we're not holding any position for too long. Let's start. Now it started. Let's pop our right leg forward. And then we're going to try and sink our hips towards the floor. Make sure that the back knee is pushed far enough for you to have enough space to open up the hip here. Once you're ready, you can get your hands on the ground. And then from there, I want you to keep moving in that position. Maybe pushing your knee out slightly. And then pushing your hips down. I usually tend to kind of rock forward and back, trying out which base feels super tight. I'm going to hold this for another 15 seconds. Let's push the knee out. Try and get the hips closer to the floor. And then we're going to push our hips back and straighten the front leg. Feet are still going to stay in the same spot, but we're just changing stretching. So now we're stretching the back of that right leg. Try and push the hips back and lean forward here. It's okay if the back rounds, so don't be too worried about that. And then let's get our hips back forward. This time we're going to try and get our right elbow towards the right heel. Reach towards it, hold it for a second. Then relax and reach up. And then the right elbow back towards the heel. And towards the sky. Towards the heel. And towards the sky. Do that one more time. Heel. And then sky. And then let's swap the legs around. Left leg comes forward. Same thing, set the legs. Back knee back. And here, sink down again. My front knee is always going to be on top of my ankle, the direct line. And here, let's make sure that our tummy is tight, so we're not just flopping here. Tightening the core, making sure that's still engaged. And then if you feel ready, you can get the hands on the ground and start moving around. Pushing the hips forward, down, side to side. Maybe push the knee out slightly, letting the inside of the foot come off the floor. Bring the knee back in. I'll stay here for another 15 seconds. And then let's push the hips back, straightening the front leg and leaning forward. Again, just let your back round here, don't be too worried about that. And just try and lean forward and feel that pull on the back of your leg. And stay here for another 15. And then we're gonna go back to hips forward and down. Transition back to the previous movement, so hips down. Then we're going to do the same thing as we did on the right side. So trying to get that left elbow towards the left heel. hold it there for a few seconds, and then reach up towards the floor. And reach up. Even if it doesn't touch the heel, that's all cool. Just try to reach towards it, and then gradually we'll get closer and closer. Up to the sky. Back towards the heel one more time. And to the sky. And relax. Next movement is a little bit harder to get, so have a look first of how I'm doing it, and then join in with me for moving through it. I'm gonna sit on my butt with my legs like so, okay? Then I'm gonna flop my knees to the left, okay? Then I'm gonna come and stand up onto my knees. My left leg is gonna stay on the ground, but my right one is gonna step through, okay? It's gonna step through, and I'm gonna end up in a lunge position. This time I'm not pushing hips as through. I'm gonna stay hips on top of the knee and push my butt through. Okay, so I'm thinking about squeezing my butt cheeks really hard here. Then I'm gonna go back onto my knees. Butt sits down. And then here, I'm gonna try, without using my arms, to flop the knees around to the right. Then I'm gonna come back to my knees. And this time, my left leg is stepping through, okay? Left leg steps through, and I'm back at the lunge position. Okay? Thinking about hips forward and abs engaged. And then I'm gonna go back onto my knees. Butt goes down, knees flop around. Then again, onto my knees, left leg stays, right one steps through, and I push my hips into a lunge position. I should always feel a stretch on the side that is at the back. Okay, so if my left leg is at the back, I should feel a stretch in the left hip flexor. Then when I go back to my knees, sit down, swap the legs around, and go onto the right side. So onto the knees, right knee stays on the ground, left one steps through, and here, now I'm feeling my right hip flexor being stretched. Then I'm going back onto my knees, turn it around, and continuing, okay? You can pause the video and start practicing, maybe even rewind it and watch me do it, okay? I often start traveling around the house, so I might start in the middle of the living room and then I end up almost in my hallway, but that's alright. The main point here is to always make sure that we start with the knees far away, so we're not having the legs together. There's a little gap here for you to stand up onto the knees, okay? And then if I'm going towards the left, my left leg stays and my right one is gonna step through, okay? And then when I come back, I return exactly the same in reverse. Turn the knees around, stand up onto the knees. I'm going towards the right, so that means that my right knee stays on the ground, left one steps through, okay? Hope that makes sense. But that's a really good movement for activating your hips and getting the mobility in there, okay? Feel free to use your arms to get into the positions if you have to. The last move I'm going to show you is called a hockey stretch. It is quite an intense stretch for the hips, but if you have any trouble with squatting, or if you feel like you have really tightened the hip flexors, this might be quite a nice stretch, but just be gentle with it, and when you do it the first time, be careful, okay? So, hockey stretch. I'm gonna get into all fours. Then I'm gonna put my knees a little wider. And the hard option is to have your feet quite far away from each other. The easier option is to bring the heels a little bit closer. From here, I'm gonna try and sit my butt towards the heels and bring myself upright. As you can see, if my heels are close together, I'm quite comfortable here. Yeah? If I pop my heels further away from each other, it gets a lot harder. And this is about as much back as I can move. Okay? This is the kind of stretch that you need to build up. So this feels quite uncomfortable for me. And I'm gonna hold this for 1 minute. And then I'm gonna take a little break and hold for another minute. Gradually I can add minutes into it, or maybe hold 2 minutes in a row. But be very gentle with it, okay? Especially because it's quite an intense movement. When you come out of it, it might feel a little funny. And we don't want to end up overstretching anything. So you should just find that spot where it feels mildly uncomfortable, but it's not painful, okay? It should never hurt. It should just feel like a position that you don't want to sit in for half an hour, but you can agree to sit there for a minute, okay? So I'm gonna hold this for another 15 seconds and then I'm gonna stop there so I don't overdo it. The closer to the floor the butt goes and the more upright you sit, the harder it is. Got another 3, 2, 1, and that's me done. Hope you enjoy that. Feel free to try any of those movements at your own time, especially the middle one when you have to move around. And if you have any feedback, any questions, let us know. Have a lovely day, guys.